Well, hello, Chicago, and thank you for joining me on IntellectualRadio.com. Today is my first day. I'm Miss B, and I want you to come into my garden. Well, you never know where your blessings are going to come from, and this right here is a blessing for me. A few weeks ago, I was asked to be a guest on a young man's show, and he was talking about the trades and how they are affecting us today, especially in the city of Chicago, with all the different things that are going on with unemployment and people having records and not having anything to do once they get out of a facility, and director and owner of a barber college, McCoy Barber College. That's just one of my gigs. I happen to be involved with many things, but the school is a family organization that has been around since the 40s and in my family since 1965. Now, I went to Columbia College, and one of the things that I did in Columbia was radio. That was my minor. I majored in theater and I minored in TV and radio. So here I am some years later, and I am doing radio again. And I chose Come Into My Garden because the theme from my radio show back in the day was Minnie Riperton's Come in My Garden. But I have a new twist on Come Into My Garden because with everything that's going on today, we need a new thought. We need a new experience. We need some new understanding so that when we get in the thick of it, we know that there is something that is stronger than us. And that's a lot of what I will be talking about. I will be talking about the garden that is within us. You see, in each and every one of us, there is a garden. We are the garden. And each of us has buds that are growing within us. And no matter what our age, those buds are there. Some of them have developed, some of them have flourished, some of them are kind of stagnant and need a little nourishing. And what I want you to be able to do is to rediscover some of those buds that are just sitting there and not getting the nourishment that they should. I want you to be able to, when you pass a beautiful garden in the street, you look at it and you know the feeling that it gives you. It gives you a warm feeling. So now, as you, the garden, when you see someone, they'll look at you and they'll see their garden. They'll see your garden. We need to nourish the buds of our gardens within us. You know, in the Bible, they have that saying about the seeds, where the seeds were put on fertile ground and the seeds were put on stony ground. We have seeds, and some of them have been kind of hitting and missing recently. So we have to make sure that our seeds are fertilized so that our buds can blossom and we can get all the weeds out of our gardens. When I came to speak about the garden, I was writing last night, and I'm going to talk just about that Manchester, England. I was writing last night about what I was going to, some of the things I was going to say. And they had that concert on, the One Love concert with Ariana Grande. I'm listening, and it's nice. I mean, I said, this is really nice what they're doing. And all of a sudden, here comes this young man. And we all know this young man, and we all have thoughts about this young man. But this young man said something to me that just made me go, all right, God. After he sang a song, he started talking to the people. And he said, you know that God is in the midst of the darkness. And I looked at that TV and I said, okay, God, because that is where we are. And the God in us is in the midst of whatever is going on around us. Think about that. Think about that. There is nothing that we cannot overcome, because Lord knows we have overcome it. One of the things I want you to do is I want you to look in the mirror. I want you to look in the mirror and I want you to see the wonderfulness of the ancestors that brought you forward. Because you didn't get here by yourself. There is someone, well, two people actually, that helped to get you here. And that is kind of where I'm going, because I want us to remember the greatness that we are. When I taught at a high school, I was talking to the students. It was a drama class. I was talking to the students, and it hit me. When I was younger, they used to tell us that if you had, I can't snap my fingers, if you had one snap, thank you very much, if you had one snap of black blood in you, you were black. It didn't matter how white you looked. If it was in there, you were black. If you are as seasoned as I am, you might remember the movie Imitation of Life. She had a mother that was a nice chocolate brown, but that young woman was walking around being another expression. Well, it was a sad story. But when they found out who she was looked at totally different. So let's get back to that blood. So now, if it only takes one snap of black blood to make you black, how powerful is that blood? And that's what's missing in our lives, because we do not know or understand the power of our blood. They do, because that is why I believe they consciously try to keep us where we are. And that is not in our right conscious minds. So that's another area that this show will have a flavor of. I want us to be able to rise above the mediocrity that is out here. I want us to be able to shine. And one thing, and this is going out to my Boomer Nation, because I am representative of the baby boomers. So I'm calling you my Boomer Nation buds, okay? And one thing that I know, when you start to think about your life and start to think about it in the terms of a historical timeline, baby boomers have lived through probably one of the most important histories of this country anyway. And almost every significant time you can place yourself has got something to do with history. And I think that some of that is missing with our young people, because everything, it seems, is something bad. And there's not enough good going on. There's not enough wellness going on. So hopefully that by spending some time in our garden, we can start to nourish and bring back the things that made us happy. Because Lord knows, I remember as a youngster, a teenager, even a young woman, there was more happy going on than there was sad. I think our sad started to come around the time of the Vietnam War, because that was the time when they took our brothers, they took our boyfriends and our cousins, and they took those young men to a place, Lord have mercy, I can't even imagine how they survived, but they did, and they came home. But that's another story that we'll talk about a little later. What I'm going to do right now is I am going to take a little break. Ms. B is going to take a little break. This is IntellectualRadio.com, and thank you for being here.
Take a look in the mirror. What do you see? I hope you can answer that question. But if you cannot, let me encourage you to do something about it. Let me encourage you to make a change in your life and your career goals by becoming a licensed barber. Do something that you've never done before, or do something you've always wanted to do, or finish what you've already started. All of these are possible at McCoy Barber College. Visit McCoyBarberCollege.com, or if you prefer speaking with a McCoy advisor, give us a call at 773-221-6700. That's 773-221-6700. McCoy Barber College.
Well, welcome back. I just took a little breather. At least that's what my assistant producer over here told me to do. She said, take a breather. I am happy to be helped by Pam Murphy, my sister here. And we go way, 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 way back. But she has some of the same talents that I have. And putting this venture on, she has been a big help to me. And I just want to thank her so that she knows. All right, here we go. So, my mission. My mission is to invite you to be open to a new thought, a new experience. Learn to let go of anything that has not been for your highest good. Find more humor in your day. Usually, when you laugh, it don't hurt. There are many appearances out here that make us say, why? Here's the thought. I believe there are always two powers at work. Only one can occupy the same space at one time. Think about it. If you're laughing, you can't be angry. As I was thinking about today, I told you about that little Justin Bieber thing. Now, Justin Bieber is someone that, the Beav, we always look at this, okay, this little kid here, he needs some help. But somewhere, Spirit touched him, and he said words that mattered. And when we are in tune with the universe, and we speak as one voice, one love, one spirit, there are no accidents, just opportunities. You never know what is waiting for you the next moment, because actually all we have is this moment. Who knows? I could just stop talking and couldn't talk anymore after this. You just never know. But that's why we have to be in the moment, be full in the moment. It doesn't mean that we forget about what happened in the past, because what happened in the past can be very relevant to what's going on right now. What you think, you bring forward. What you believe, you manifest. So if you believe this is going to be a better world, then it's going to be a better world. Because if enough of us believe in that one voice, one love, one spirit, it'll happen. I don't care what is going on right now. It doesn't matter. This is just a blip on the radar, because we will overcome this as we have overcome everything else. Think about it. Our ancestors, the ones that survived, who are our ancestors, you know they survived because we're here. But there were thousands that did not. Those seeds did not make it. We are the seeds of the ones that did. We are the power of the ones that did. I don't know how many millennials will be listening to this, but I know my boomers understand. I know they understand because we come from the same cloth and we know what is going on. This morning was a special morning for me, because it seems that when things are about to happen for me, there are things that start to want to happen to me. But I didn't allow that. I kept moving because I was going to be here, and I was going to be here in full spirit. Yes, I'm a little nervous, but that's okay. We'll get through those nerves and we'll be fine. It's the next shows that I'm going to have. We'll see how June works out. The next shows that I'm going to have, I'm going to deal mainly with barbering, because that's what I do right now, along with a few other things. But barbering, because it is a trade that has lost its shine, so to speak. I'm going to talk about the history of barbering and the future of barbering. I'm going to have next week, prayerfully, a young man that is one of those situations when you talk about accidents and an opportunity. Something happened in his life, in his business, that has turned his whole consciousness around. He is now doing things with the industry for the good of the community. And that community is Inglewood. Now, let me tell you a little something about Inglewood. Inglewood has a bad rap. Let's face it, it does. However, Inglewood has some blooming buds all around it. And the people that live in Inglewood aren't the only ones that are discovering these buds. There are people coming into Inglewood now that are seeing a vitality that others don't recognize. There is a coffee shop on 69th and Green that is run by a young man who is not of our persuasion, but he has a coffee shop that pays it forward. You buy a cup of coffee and then you pay for another cup of coffee, and that next person can get their cup of coffee for free. Not only that, now he's beginning to host different events. This is on 69th and Green. Now on 63rd Street, they have a Whole Foods store, and it is flourishing. And you know, they rebuilt Kennedy King. Now I'm a member of the old Kennedy King, and I even go back to Wilson Junior College. But that Kennedy King that is up now it's phenomenal. It's as grand as any of the colleges around the city of Chicago. The thing that I love about what is happening with Inglewood is that as much as the press reports the drama that's going on, there is a lot of life going on in Inglewood. And I am very proud to say that I was a resident of Inglewood. And not only that, I went to the high school that produced the first African American female senator for the United States of America. Carol Moseley Braun was my high school classmate. And I remember Carol as a cheerleader. You never know where life is going to take you. Not only was she a cheerleader, she was involved even in civil rights issues back in the day. Many times when your focus is on one thing and you are really focused on that one thing, life takes you on a through line. For me, life hasn't been exactly a through line. I used to say that I come into things from the back door. When I went to Wilson Kennedy King, I dropped out because I wasn't doing whatever it was that I thought I was supposed to be doing. So I dropped out of school. And then one of those historical events happened. Dr. King was assassinated. So in 1968, after Dr. King's assassination, all the schools decided we are now going to teach African American studies. Well, to my benefit, Columbia College decided to give out Black scholarships. And another former high school classmate of mine, an excellent photographer, he came to get his hair cut. Yes, I was cutting hair at that time on 69th, right off Halstead at Andre's Barbershop. He came to get his hair cut and he said, you know, Columbia's giving out scholarships. I said, really? Wow. Maybe I could go back to school. He said, sure, why not? Just come, you know, have an interview. Do you know what you want to do? And I was like, I don't know. Maybe advertising. Don't ask me why I chose advertising. I do not know. But I went for the interview. I got the scholarship. I was enrolled at Columbia. I was in an advertising class. And the man is standing up there giving his spiel about advertising. And he says something very, very interesting. He said, you know, I really don't like advertising. And I'm going, well, why are you teaching advertising if you don't like advertising? Well, one of the other courses that I was taking, now mind you, at that time, Columbia was a school that did not have the same kind of structure as the rest of as other colleges. You didn't have to take math and science in order to graduate. You had to take classes like music in the theater, visual communications. These were your priority classes. So I was in a music and a theater class. And the one thing I always loved to do when I was a kid was dance. I loved to dance. But my folks wouldn't let me take dance lessons because they said I would not be able to make a living being a dancer. So I didn't dance. At least not until I was in my 20s and I was in music in the theater. And that is when I got my opportunity to dance. I even started an original dance that was never in one of their productions. So I say this because you never know what life is going to present to you, but you always have to be ready. You always have to be ready to take on the opportunity. Just like me sitting here today. I had no idea a couple of weeks ago that I would be sitting here talking to you for an hour, but here I am. It's an opportunity, and I did not say no to it because I do not know what doors will open for me through this. Because even though I am a licensed barber and an instructor, I am also a graduate of Columbia College with a BA in theater, radio, and TV. Recently, I've done my headshot. I've made up a new resume. This is something that I have not done in many years. I used to do voiceovers. Okay, I'm going to do it. For those boomers out there that don't know me, there was a time. Do you all remember Funtown? Oh, that's something I want you to do. On Facebook Live. I know we've been going for a while, but on Facebook Live, please make comments because I'm going to look at them. And then the next time when I come back, I will respond to those that I can. But as part of that, back in the day, there was an amusement park, if you remember, called Funtown. And in Funtown, there were radio spots that were done by a mutual friend of Pam and ours, Richard Peggy. You all remember Richard Peggy, the greatest music of your life? Well, Richard used to produce spots. I became the voice of Susie Funtown. You ready? Funtown, Funtown is the place to be. 95th and Stony Island Avenue. Hi, I'm Susie Funtown. Okay, hope that gave you a little giggle. But yes, Susie Funtown is now on the air. So you see what I'm saying, buds? You never know where life is going to take you. And you're never too old. I'm not going to say my age, but if I'm talking the way I'm talking, you can kind of figure where I am. And I'm proud of it. I still got some spry in my step. And I don't look too bad. So I expect in my life to do some more things that I haven't done before, or can continue to do some things that I used to do. Where are we on time? Okay. So we are going to take one more break from IntellectualRadio.com, and we will be back. Thank you.
You see, I hope you can answer that question. But if you cannot, let me encourage you to do something about it. Let me encourage you to make a change in your life and your career goals by becoming a licensed barber. Do something that you've never done before, or do something you've always wanted to do, or finish what you've already started. All of these are possible at McCoy Barber College. Visit McCoyBarberCollege.com, or if you prefer speaking with a McCoy advisor, give us a call at 773-221-6700. That's 773-221-6700. McCoy Barber College.
Hi, I'm back. All right. We have just about another half hour to go. And one thing I'd like to do is I'd like to do a few thank yous, because if it wasn't for certain teachings that I've been going through the last few years, I don't know if I'd be sitting behind this microphone talking to you. I want to thank my pastor, the Reverend Joseph E. Hill of the Power Circle congregation, for all the teaching that he has and does produce at the Power Circle. And I also want to thank Reverend Jacqueline Trish Atkins for the Gold Rush Women's Conference, which I am a part of. And that spotlights the empowerment of women, of all women. And for the last 10 years, has it been more than 10 years? 10 years that we've been working, we have, we've seen some phenomenal things happen with women discovering the intrinsic gold that is within them. So those two entities, my church and the Gold Women's Conference, are two valuable components to my life that keep me steady and keep me anchored. I also want to thank, I brought in, unless you can really see this, I brought in some flowers, and they are done by another dear associate of mine, Flowers by Giselle, or Modern Luxe Flowers. And let me tell you, you have never given some flowers as the ones she will make up for you. You will be on a good foot when you bring somebody these flowers. All right, those are my my little spots right there. Next week, I'm going to have a brother named Suni Powell come on the show. And I'm going to give you this background about Suni, because I really do want you to tune in, because it's not just about being a barber. This is about being a responsible member of your community. A couple of years ago, I think it's been about 2 years now, someone came into his barbershop on 63rd Street and began shooting. People were ducking, dodging bullets, but someone did die. And after that, it really rocked him. It rocked, and I understand how it rocked him. And for a while, his business suffered because people were nervous about coming into the business. And he was someone that had been giving events at his shop, like back to school events. He was doing things before this had happened. So it really hurt him on a personal note that somebody came into his shop and did this. Well, this brother, he decided, I have to take some action. I have to find a way to make a difference. So what he did was, last summer, he produced the first barber-free haircut event called Ceasefire. He invited barbers from all around the Chicago area, and he invited the schools to come out, and we were over in, I believe it's Ogden Park, over on Racine. We were all there one hot summer Sunday. And for a barber to come out on a Sunday after he has worked on his feet all day on Saturday, that's saying something. And I want you to know he had an excellent turnout. He's doing it again this year. And when he comes in next week, I'm going to have him talk about it. He's going to give you the dates so that you will know and you can come out and support. He's got sponsorship that because of everything that's happening, the good works that he does, it's going to be a phenomenal event. And I'll be out there with my students as well as, okay, I'm going to brag a little bit. Of my students, I have some folks that have gone on to become some phenomenal professionals. I have an alumnus that cuts hair for the Chicago Bears. I have an alumnus that has been involved with both barbershop movies as their technical haircutting advisor. And not only that, he has done movies like The Terminator. He has been involved with Empire, Chicago Fire, Chicago PD. I'm not sure about Chicago Justice, but I know he's been involved with the others. Not only that, he has put together a mobile unit where he can go out and cut hair wherever you are. In the Bud Billiken parades the last few years, he and his unit have been out there giving free haircuts. And that unit is sharp. Let me tell you, it looks better than a lot of barbershops I've been in. So, okay. And then I have another woman who, she's in Mississippi right now, but there was a time when we had a hair show called the Proud Lady Hair Show. And it was produced by Black manufacturers. Back in the day, Chicago was the hub of Black manufacturing, of hair care. If you wanted it, it came from Chicago. It's not so much now anymore, unfortunately. They've either died, sold, or divorced. And we've lost a lot of that hair power. But during that time, there was a former student who put together a hair product called Leisure Curl. Now, this would be relevant to boomers that were in that period of the quote unquote Jerry curl. You remember the Jerry curl? Well, when the Jerry curl was going on and it got bigger and bigger, women started saying, well, you know what? I still want to be able to wear my hair straight. I don't always want to have a curl. So here comes our former student in the bathtub in his Roseland apartment. He put together the stuff Leisure Curl. And Leisure Curl was a transition. You could wear the look of a curl, but you could also have the look of a relaxer. That was he was known for. When the Proud Lady was at his height, oh, that exposition was fabulous. Oh, the shows that they put on were great. And out of that, we had another former student, Dawn Tatum. She decided that barbers should get some recognition as well. Because up until that time, all your competitions were basically, beauty competitions, hair competitions. But she said, barbers ought to have some show too. So she initiated the barber competitions at the Proud Lady. And through her, the barber competitions began to grow. Now there are barber competitions almost everywhere. But that start came from one of ours. So you see, my school has a rich history. And that was done through my parents. I have to give them some recognition. My ancestors that brought me through, John and Lelia Rideau, they are the ones that took over McCoy Barber College in '65 and started the reincarnation of what McCoy Barber College has become today. I'm not ashamed to say it's a legend. If you are in the barbering business as a professional barber and you say McCoy Barber College, they will look at you and go, oh, you know what you're doing then. That's the kind of reputation we have. My parents, when I talk about that ancestral lineage, one came from Louisiana, one came from Mississippi. My mother was from Mississippi. And she had 1, 2, 3 sisters, one brother. I never got to meet her brother. He had made his transition before I got here. But her sisters were all phenomenal women. These were some strong women. Those are some stories that you may or may not hear about down the road. But my mother at 14 decided she did not want to stay on the farm. She wanted to come to the city and be with her sisters. Well, the way she used to tell it was that she didn't want to pick any more cotton. Now, grandmama told me she ain't never picked no cotton in her life, but that's what she told us. So she came here and she started out in Harvey, and she went to Thornton, and she left Thornton, and she went to Wendell Phillips. And before my mother made her transition, about a year before she made her well, I'm not sure, maybe not quite a year, her transition, she was honored by Wendell Phillips. Wendell Phillips is one of the schools that has a very strong alumni program. And one of her niece's best friends got it going, and my mother was recognized by Wendell Phillips when she was in her 80s. Now, my mother at this time was kind of, moving with a cane and not getting around as well as she used to. But on that night, darlings, my mother walked tall and proud. She even got up and did a little dance. But because of her, here I am. She, not my father, was the business owner in the beginning. When she went to barber school, she ended up taking over a barbershop in Bronzeville on 43rd Street. She met my dad at a wedding. And when he got out the Navy, he came back to Chicago and he went to barber school and joined my mother in her business. Now, what I want to tell you, now this is a relationship point here. It is very difficult nowadays for two people to stay together. And a couple of reasons are, first of all, you don't come from the same place. You got to have a common ground. My parents both came from the South, so they had that common ground and they had similar values. But the one thing that my dad had was that he was not so prideful that he didn't recognize my mother's strengths. My mother was good with money. My mother could pinch a penny, not a dime. She could pinch a penny. And my father recognized that value in her, and he allowed her, as they worked in a barbershop, to take care of the money. But now, while doing that, he learned himself. So that after a few years, he was managing himself. And by the time they got to the point where they owned a school, Daddy had it. Mama had it. But Mother, I always said, was the budget director. Now, McCoy Barber College is one of those schools that is not a financial aid institution. McCoy Barber College has always maintained a pay-as-you-go program. And sometimes, especially in recent years, that has been a bit of a struggle. But my parents, as they put it, they did not want Uncle Sam as a partner. And so they worked it out. And it worked for them. And some people have looked at us and go, oh, y'all ought to be getting that financial aid. Well, maybe we should, maybe we shouldn't. I don't know. We aren't doing it right now. So, will happen in the future. But at this time, our enrollment is growing. And I am very happy to say that we're still here. I'm still here. And we hopefully will be here for a long time to come as we develop new instructors. Maybe someone will come along and say, okay, Ms. B, you go in and sit down now. We got this. And I'm saying, thank you, baby. Because now I'm starting to see children of people that I trained to come to school. And that's saying something. So if you want to do something with your life, if you want to have a trade, Barbering is not a bad trade. Barbering is, as my parents put it, if you can't do anything else, you always have it to fall back on. Barbering is not something that has to be your sole existence, because the people that I just spoke about, they do it, but they've also doing other things. Um, One of the things that, as far as being an instructor, now you can also be a platform artist. You can, um, I have DJs. I have students that are DJs when they're not barbering. Barbering is something that can you can make a sole livelihood, or you can make it a part-time livelihood. But the one thing that I do want to stress is barbering is a profession. It's not a hustle. And unfortunately, what's going on right now with a lot of our younger people that are out there cutting hair, I'm not calling them barbers because a lot of them didn't go to school. They're hustling. They're taking the money when they cut the hair, they're putting it in their pockets and they spending it. It's going out as fast as they put it in. And they're not reporting it. So the government does not know. And they don't think that we have very many people out here that are doing a profession the way it should be. But think about this. This is something else I want you to think about. If you are a professional barber, you have your license and you're doing things the way they're supposed to be done, I guarantee you, you probably got a shop. You probably have a home, a building, a car, credit cards. You have all those things. If you are not a licensed barber and you are not doing anything else but cutting some hair, what do you have? Because once you go to buy something, if you're not paying cash for it, what do you have? What are you going to have? How can you buy a car, a building, send your folks to school? How can you do that if you don't take that money and spend it and save it and use it wisely? That's something else that we'll talk about down the road. We're going to talk about things that are going on in today as well. Uh, I want to talk about more of the good things than the not so good things. I'm not going to call anything bad because everything happens for a reason. Whatever we're going through today, whatever we look at and go, oh my God, what are they doing? It's a reason. And maybe it's a reason that we have to wake up to and we have to make some changes, but it's a reason. So I'm going to read something to you. And this is coming from a book that I got. Um, a dear associate of mine made her transition a few months ago. And she was a very creative person. And it was a very sudden transition that still affects us today. But one of the things that our dear friend was, she was a designer. And I mean, she would whip up some clothes. And she was very distinctive. And when she walked into the room, you knew it was her. And she could sing. She could make you laugh. She could cook. She was a phenomenal woman. And when they were getting her things together after her transition, I went by and I got a couple of things. And there was this book that was like sitting on the table. And I looked at that book and it just like said, excuse me, excuse me. And I went, okay, let me see. Let me look at this. All right. And I asked, okay, how much for the book? And it wasn't, maybe $1, whatever. But that dollar was probably one of the most well spent bucks I've spent in a long time. This book has become like I keep it in the library. Use your imagination where the library is. But it's there and I pick it up and it's become a part of my like morning ritual that I read from this book. It's called The Laws of Spirit and it's by Dan Millman. It's a tale of transformations. It's about a guy that leaves his house for a walk and somehow ends up into the deep forest and runs into what he calls a sage. And it sounds like the sage is a woman, but it doesn't matter. But this sage gives this man several lessons on transforming his life. They're laws, as they are called. And there are, I think there are like 12 laws. The one law that I'm on, that I'm going to read a little bit from today, is called the law of expectation, expanding your reality. Before anything manifests in this world, it first appears as a thought or image in someone's mind. Your thoughts color the windows through which you are in the world. Your beliefs become the building blocks of experience. In other words, every positive thought is a prayer, and every prayer is answered. Every positive thought is a prayer, and every prayer is answered. You don't always have to get down on your knees to pray. You can be walking down the street and say, "Thank you, God, for being able to walk down the street." It's a positive prayer. You don't have to beg the universe for anything. Just keep thinking and focusing and realizing the things that you want from life. We're only here for a moment when you think about it. I don't know if you believe you were here before or if you believe you'll come after. Me, I think I was here before. And I think I have become more aware than I was before. I think I have my mission. I think every one of us has a mission. I think we are all intertwined with one another. I was on a train once. I was coming between New York and Chicago. Oh, that's another story, New York. And I'm sitting on the train, and the one thing about train travel back in the day was in you could lounge and you could be in the dining car and you could be sitting with someone. You didn't know them. They were just there because I was by myself. And this man, we struck up a conversation, and he told me, he said, when you spend at least 5 minutes with someone, you'll see them again. And I looked at him. I said, yeah, sure, right. I came home. I visited with my family. My dad's taking me back to catch the bus or to catch the train back. And we were downtown, and we had stopped at a stoplight. And I looked up, and there's this man going across the street. And I said, oh my God, there he is. Now, if he walked up on me now today, I wouldn't know what the heck he looked like. But the fact that he walked across the street in front of the car, it made me very aware of what he had said. So when you strike up a conversation with someone, be aware of what you're doing, what you're saying, because you never know if you see that person again. It's like I tell my students all the time, just because we're a school, you don't know who is coming into this school to get their hair cut. You don't know whose life you might affect. You don't know. That could be a judge sitting in your chair. Definitely could be a police officer sitting in your chair. But it could be a child who's going to become a Major League Basketball player, or a football player, or a baseball player, because we've had them all. Right now, we have an actor. I don't know how many of you watch Blacklist, but there's a man on Blacklist, Harry Lennox. That is a former customer of McCoy Barber College. He used to come in when he was substitute teaching. And I saw him looking at some music one day and said, oh, you're a musician? He said, no, I teach music. I'm a substitute teacher. I said, oh, okay. What else do you do? And he said, I'm also an actor. I said, really? Oh, that's interesting because, I did a little acting in school and stuff. I said, well, when are you going to be doing something? Because I'd like to come and see you. So he let us know. And we went to see him. He did Ma Rainey's Black Bottom something. And the whole family went. And he's sitting up there, and the language that was coming out during that show, my mother's sitting there very, okay, I can do this. But the one thing that I did know, that brother could act. And subsequently, I went to see him in several productions until he went off and became who he is now, a major player in the entertainment industry. We had former Bear football player who used to come in to get his haircut when he was in high school. Y'all remember Chris Zorich? I know he hasn't been around for a while, but he was an excellent player, defensive player for the Chicago Bears. And he was one of the sweetest people that I have ever met. He used to come in and he would always, yes, ma'am, yes, no, ma'am. He was very polite and very humble. And one Mother's Day, I ended up cutting his hair. And I said, did you get your mother something for Mother's Day? I didn't really have any money to get her anything. I went, okay. Well, I tell you what, baby, you take this haircut money and you get your mother at least a card for Mother's Day. That's what McCoy Barber College is. It's a family. And it's not just a family of students. It's a family of customers. There are customers that have been at that school since they were kids. And then they come back, they'll see me in the street. Oh, Miss B, you still at the barber school? Yeah, baby, I'm still there. So that is in part who I am. I mentioned New York. New York is a story that we'll have to talk about at another time. But I am a true Chicagoan, born, bred, and schooled. But I did take a slight hiatus for almost 7 years. And that's something that I'll tell you at another time. It has been my pleasure being with you here today. And thank you from IntellectualRadio.com. This is Miss B, and thank you for joining me in my garden.
Barbering is a career and an art, one that will always allow you the freedom of choice and an opportunity to reach your goals. McCoy Barber College offers a focused 1,500-hour course in barbering, and when completed, you qualify to get licensed by the state of Illinois as a barber. Visit McCoyBarberCollege.com, or if you prefer speaking with a McCoy advisor, give us a call at 773-221-6700. McCoy Barber College.